Hello and welcome. This is All for United. We are going to Wembley once again. We have reached the FA Cup final where we've got the chance to slap Manchester City square across the mush, providing we play a bit more like we did in the first half than we did for the remaining 75 minutes of that game. What a time to be alive. As the boss himself has said, what on earth happened? Never been so deflated after a semi-final win. Listen, we're there, and that's really all that matters. It's job done for once, and we shall see what the panel have got to make of that. And what a panel it is once again that we have managed to assemble. Just below me, traveling all the way in from the Sunshine State, possibly, I think that's what they call it, of Florida. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. It's happened before. It's Mr. John Commode. How are you, sir? Lovely to have you here.
Yes, very good to be back on. Yes, I am in Florida, and interesting day, wasn't it? So yeah, but we got there. We got to the final just.
Interesting is a word we could use, John, and I think it's the adjective we'll go for at this moment in time. And in the bottom right-hand corner, it's like some people won't recognise him. It's been a while since he's been on, but there he is. It's the man who is sure that Shaw is the only world-class player we've got, and after today's showing, he might well be right. It's Mr. Tone. How are you doing, sir? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm very good, mate. Glad to be back on the panel. We've got some interesting topics to talk about today. A really interesting game. So I'm glad to be here to talk about it with you guys.
Absolutely. It is good to have you here. And there, just staring into his thumb and his finger, is the one and only right-hand man on the left-hand side, Mr. Dan Field. Hello, sir. How are you?
My brain hurts. That's all I've got at the minute. My brain just hurts. I can't believe what I've watched.
Well, we're all looking forward to seeing what's happened. John is so upset that he's gone off again, but he'll be back again momentarily. Here he goes. There's clearly something going on with John's phone. He's about a bit.
Sorry, my laptop stopped working, and then I logged into my phone, and then all of a sudden the laptop came on at the start of the stream. So yeah, I logged into it, and now I'm on my laptop, so you can Brilliant. See the room rather than just my face now.
Lovely. Well, I was just going to say, it's like John's about as chaotic as the match ended up being. He was there quite happy backstage, then all of a sudden he just got a little bit of squeaky bum. Well, listen, there's loads of you here. If you're here, please like it. It's lovely if you could do that. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. And we are going to just dive right in. Ordinarily, I'd have lots of stuff planned for this. To be fair, there's 6 goals, an offside goal, 2 yellow cards that we probably need to talk about, a load of penalties, and that would only scratch the surface, really. So, John, I'll kick off with you. I described it on the way back, or it was on the coach on the way back from another horrible match. And I said to the girls behind us, do you know what? You can't even celebrate that. It felt like you just couldn't celebrate. It's one of those where you were ready to celebrate, and then it all just went so far wrong that in the end, you were just pleased to make it through. And it was relief rather than celebration. How did you see that game, and what sort of emotions have gone through the body of Mr. John Commode today?
Being a Manchester United fan is like having bipolar disorder at the moment, isn't it? It's like you have good moments and you have bad moments. First hour of the game, we were very good. Deserves to be 3-0 up. We're playing well. Coventry, first half, weren't great. They made a tactical adjustment. I think we went 4 at the back second half, but then when we went 3-0 up, and you're like, right, that's it, we're cruising to Wembley. You can make, a couple of changes, maybe get a 4th goal to secure it, and then yes, thank you, NT. And basically, and then for some reason, you flick a switch and you say Manchester United calm, composing a football game. We don't do that, and we were we contributed to our downfall. It's completely on manager, players, some extent the officials, some degree, and we'll go into that. But I just think we're very, very lucky. And I thought we'd lose after that. I thought when they went 4-3 up with that offside goal, they deserved to go through. And, it was just a stroke of like football gods. And sure that it was an inch or something offside. It's just luck got us there. But credit to the team, Casemiro's penalty was awful. And but in fairness to all our other takers, they did do a good job. So I think it's embarrassing, but not humiliation. And that's the best way I can describe it. Humiliation would have been us going out completely, but it was embarrassing. So, but we're there, we're in the final, and a FA Cup classic for the neutrals, but for us, just further confirmation of what we've seen all season recently, and but this is on another level, I think.
Yeah, it is. We'll get to that, I'm sure. Tone, John's done a good job of sort of summarising pretty much how the whole game went, but just opening reflections and how you're feeling. What's your thoughts coming out of that?
I've never seen a more Jekyll and Hyde team like this Man United team at the moment. It seems like I was saying after 45 minutes today, what a professional Man United team. What I mean? We weren't changing the world a lot with our performance, but we did what we needed to do. We controlled the tempo, we controlled the play, we brought the pressure onto City, and they didn't know what they were doing with what we were trying to do. And going to it 2-0 at halftime, we go up 3-0. You think job's done, and we afford chances. We know that, any team knows that. But the fact is, you give a City team the chance, a Coventry City team, like, no offense to them, they did brilliantly, but they're a championship team, to come back into it. And to be honest, we're here today. We should be buzzing that we're going to a final, but we're embarrassed by the circumstances we got to a final. Like, a penalty shootout is a flip of a coin in a lot of circumstances. And, I can only commend City for their effort, because a lot of teams would have capitulated at that moment, 3-0 down, but they went for it. And to be honest, another day, an inch or two either side, they're through to a final 4-3. So, you got to count your blessings in a lot of ways. But I'm just bewildered by it all now. It kind of, when you think it can't get any more complacent, any more bizarre, it happens. And the commentator said it. We are an entertaining team, but not for the right reasons.
I mean, I don't think a more truer word has been said on this channel. Certainly not in the last 15 minutes, anyway. But certainly, it's the case. Dan, I know you're not happy. Mainly because you texted me with "I'm not happy," so I kind of knew that before I started looking at your face. Your face is a bit of a giveaway as well. We're gonna have lots of time to dissect what's gone on, but just initial feelings, just like everybody else for you as well.
I can't put it into words. I really can't. I tweeted about 5 times in the first half saying professional. What we was watching was a professional performance. They set up in a certain way. We kept the ball. We went from side to side to make them run. We tied them out. We got an early goal. We got a goal just before half time. We carried into the second half. We got the goal on the 60th minute. Again, using the word professional. It all seemed so against what we had all said over the weekend. Well, over the days leading up to it. So it was the performance that maybe the Coventry City fans were expecting, and we were downplaying, and suddenly just don't get it. It just went to absolute pot, and I'll be honest, I was very, very angry at some of the decisions in the game, and seeing what I'm seeing on social media tonight is indicative of the season in general. Suddenly offside shouldn't be offsides, and suddenly penalties are now given today that we've seen over 2 days haven't been given, and that seems absolutely fine. His substitutions, I want to come on it to a bit later. I've been saying for ages, sometimes you have to make difficult substitutions. They make very little sense, his substitutions at 3-0. But if you're coming onto a game 3-0 up, and then you're part of the reason it's gone to 3-3, that's not a manager issue. What are the players doing different to what the players have gone off? It's not that difficult. I don't understand how their performances have been so poor after they've come onto the pitch that the likes of Mainu and Garnacho, who are kids in the Man United squad, are carrying the team. And then when you've got Ericsson, who was an absolute seasoned professional, and Anthony, who was an £80 million man, and they were both crap, absolutely crap. And it's just, as much as I want to blame Ten Hag for that, because he's put them on, you're 3-0 up. Your manager should be able to put you on at 3-0 up against a championship team, and you see it out comfortably. That should be a no-brainer for Klopp put on kids, and it won him the game against Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? I'm so baffled. It's raised more questions for us again, but it's definitely showed me that a good chunk of these players need to be gone. Like, no second chances, just gone.
It's interesting. You talk about questions. Jennifer Straight in there already with will ETH be at the final, which seems 100%. Like the sort of question you would ask about the Glazers. And
he will. The top four.
I'm sure he will. I don't really want to go to that just yet because there's so much to get through. But NT agrees with you, Dan, anyway. So, listen, we're going to run this slightly differently to how we'd normally run it, because if we were to talk individually about each and every single goal, we'd be an extra time and all, we'd still be going Monday morning. So I'm going to take it sort of one at a time as we do normally, and you can chip in with your thought on the initial one as well if you want to, but we'll try and progress it a bit more. So we'll kick off with John, as that seems to be the order that I've decided to go in today. And hey, it's my show, I'm allowed to. So what I'm thinking, Johnny, is that you can be the man to talk about Super Scott McTominay, because every time we need that man, he's there. Like, honestly, he should have an S on the front of his shirt that every time he scores, he can just nip into a phone box, have a little spin around, come out, Super Scott. Because honestly, that bloke is just, he's been unreal this season. And sadly, we're going to get to the next one as well, which Tony will talk about. But sadly, the two first goal scorers are the ones that most of the people in this world are going to say, well, they've got to be the first ones out the door. And this is what blows my mind. People with the right attitude that want to work hard, that help us continually, just take all the flack. And it seems a bit unfair. But nonetheless, nice bit of work. Started sort of a bit McTominay anyway. Throws the ball out to the right-hand side. Little pass from Garnacho to Dalot. Whips it in just out of the reach of the goalkeeper. And there he is, Super Scott, into the back of the net. 1-0. And at that point in time, John, we're sitting there thinking, here we go. This will be easy peasy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was a well-worked goal, wasn't it? And I think as bad as we are, we are capable of scoring a few goals, aren't we? And some of the goals we are scoring at the moment are good goals, and like you say, McTominay, I did have, there are times I'm critical about playing McTominay, but I thought if you're going to pick him in a game, it would be this type of game, playing no disrespect, a championship team, FA Cup semi-final, he's capable of getting you a goal. And I think he's might not be a top four kind of player or a main starter for a top 4 team, but he's certainly a player who's Premier League level. And when you're playing championships, in no disrespect, even he will shine brightly in a game like this, and he showed that today with his goal. He's he's a very good poacher at times. I don't know how many he must be close to double figures now this season, and he scored some crucial goals at crucial times for us this season. And it was a very good bowling by Dalot. Again, another player I've been critical of. But he does put some good balls into the box, and it was well finished off. And for me, when we went 1-0 up, I was like, here we go. Just get another one before half time, and then on we go. So, but yeah, it was a very good start. And like I say, for most of the game, the actual 90-minute game, most of it, we actually played well, but yeah, it was a very good goal by McTominay, and we thought we were on our way.
And we were on our way. We just didn't quite know that we were going, from A to Wembley via Z, B, and Q. But anyway, let's maintain some of the joviality that we had and keep talking about the joys, because Tone, just before half time, Marcus Rashford has an absolute belter of a shot that the goalkeeper does well to turn over the bar. And I actually said to our goalkeeping coach, I feel sorry for the goalkeeper at these sort of times, because it happened to Mary Earps against Chelsea in the semi-final as well. An absolutely superb save, top draw, and then from the corner, a goal. And that's exactly what happened here. So I did feel for the Coventry goalkeeper on this one, but what a header from Harry Maguire. And again, we talk about how vital Scott McTominay's been to our season. Harry Maguire as well, literally our only fit centre-back. There was nobody else. We had to throw Casemiro in at the centre-back role as well. He could have been playing for West Ham. He could have been playing for West Ham. We would, I can't even say it. We would have had no recognised centre-backs for an FA Cup semi-final. That aside, what a header.
What a header, I mean, right before the best time to score is just for half time, 1-0, we're going 1-0 at half time. The City, Robinson's saying to City, look, we could get this back quite quickly. The turnaround, 2-0 at half time is quite a lot of time in the mountain to climb from up. And, sometimes a player's greatest ability is their availability. And Maguire's been that for us. Maguire's been that sort of player who comes into games. And, he's not the greatest centre-back of all time. We're not going to admit that he's Maldini or anyone like that. But what I'm saying to you is, he is the most professional footballer I think we have at the club in terms of the way he carries himself, the way he acts. You know how many people in that United team who, if they were captain, who would have been told, look, you're not captain anymore. You're not going to start. Get on with it. Deal with it. How many players would have threw their toys out the pram, gone to the press, said this, been that, done that? Maguire's just literally gone, well, I'll prove you wrong. Give me the opportunity and I will give you a professional performance each and every time. And I think whatever happens with Maguire, whether he stays next season, whether he leaves, it's commendable what he's done in terms of he's had to change every week with another centre-back pairing. Last week, Willie. This week, Casemiro. Next week, who knows who's going to be at centre-back with him. But what I'm saying is I think Maguire's held himself in high regard. And to be fair, I've never been one for the Maguire memes anyway, but I think he's redeemed himself a lot with the mainstream Man United fans now.
Couldn't agree more. And again, with the news that there's been actual players under Solskjaer who just said, I don't want to be captain. All that time when Maguire was, you do have to ask yourself the question, was he being captain because nobody else wanted to do it? And he was the only one who was willing to put his head above the parapet. Now, granted, it's a big head to stick above the parapet, so it's easily for him than others. But thank God he did, because he was the only one who seemed willing to actually do it. And absolutely, Highlane, you are not wrong. He wasn't fully fit either. He was having a bit of a problem. And I think I saw that's 60 with Cambuala now. That's 60 or 61 different separate injuries since the start of the season. And when you consider it, I think it works out at sort of like seven or 8 injuries a month. And when you consider how many of those are in the defensive department, it just blows my mind, if I'm honest with you.
And the other thing to add to that is it's not just all those injuries. About half of them are defenders as well.
For sure.
It's perplexing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's confusing because the way we play on the pitch each and every week doesn't make me think they're running themselves ragged in training. They're playing a Bielsa sort of press every single game, like they're running tens of kilometers more than any other team. Like, but really, it seems like we're rushing players back. The more and more I look at it, we're rushing players back, not because of the fact they're that valuable to the team, because we haven't got anyone else to replace them with. He doesn't want to play 18-year-olds in the positions. He doesn't want to play Jackson at centre-back in the semi-final, and I don't blame him. Could you imagine the pressure on the lad?
The other factor is you got Campbell, you got Mount for this game, Amrabat. He's played, I mean, I know Campbell had played the previous game. These aren't players playing a lot of minutes, and you're like, how are they getting injured?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these injuries are not actually match related. So how on earth are they getting injured in training?
Well, do you know, it's interesting because I actually read something that sort of I retweeted it. So just go and check what I've got, and you can go and read it properly for yourself. There's an interesting point talking about how we've had quite a slow style of play over the last few years, and how actually when you start trying to move to a high intensity, possession-based sort of game in the manner that Ten Hag's been trying to, that actually it would make a bit of a difference, and you do expect to see it. Arteta, Klopp, allegedly, I don't know, I haven't checked it out on this, but allegedly had similar sort of problems in terms of getting injuries and these sorts of things. And he was then talking about how the younger players are the ones that seem to be all right with it because of the fact that they've got more energy, they've got bodies that are more capable of being getting used to it. So it was a very interesting little post. You should definitely go and have a look if you're not sure. But Mr. Dan, let's move over to you, because we then made it 3. And again, don't forget you can talk a little bit about the other 2 things if you really want to. But Bruno Fernandes, it was Captain Fantastic, who managed to make it 3-0. He also had an effort to hit the bar a bit later on in the game as well, which was unlucky, really, because it was at that point, an hour gone. I mean, that's it, isn't it? We're all sitting there thinking, that's it. This couldn't have been any easier. We were really worried about the game because we didn't have a fully fit back four. We're here now. We've got all of our players in. We can. That's it. Everybody breathe. We've made it to the final. Cracking. That's what you're thinking, right?
Yeah. I can't lie. Yeah. It's simple, really. At that point, you're 3-0 up after 60 minutes. You've just got to do what you've been doing all game. In essence, you don't need to change anything. You keep the possession. You make them run side to side. You hit them on the break if you get the chance, and you just control the ball. It's what 99.9% of teams would do in that situation. Our inability to do it is a difficult one to pinpoint who's the problem. It's got to be the players to a point, and then you question Ten Hag why some of these players keep getting picked, keep playing. Yeah, I get we have to change the defence a lot, but I'm not sure what Marcus Rashford did to stay on the pitch today instead of Garnacho. I thought maybe Garnacho was injured. The same with Kobe Minu. It's just confusing why he's made that sub. But again, I don't want to dish too much criticism to him because you're 3-0 up against a championship team to 60 minutes. You should be able to bring on anybody you want at that point and see out the game. It shouldn't just crumble like it crumbled. Obviously, the goal, I thought Fernandes played quite well when he was allowed to drift forward and not have to run and defend. Again, we've got a player there that's absolutely phenomenal that we're wasting because he's not being played in the right position because he doesn't suit Ten Hag's version of his position. So it's a struggle for him, but he's always showing up for us. And we got a bit fortunate because it took a deflection. To be honest, again, Rashford was dilly-dallying on the ball. Didn't really get it to him. The defender did. Going back to McTominay and Maguire, I'm going to throw some absolutely outrageous out there, and I stand by it. These 2 players now are untouchable at this football club after this season. If you genuinely want Manchester United to change and change for the better, Maguire, after his turnaround, cannot be sold. He should be an absolute shining light to any player that's coming into the team. I'm not saying he should be a starter. I'm saying he should be in that changing room because he literally showed the epitome of what it means to be a Man United player. Same McTominay. I'm not saying he's a starter, but he 100% should be in that changing room next season over the likes of Rashford, over the likes of Eriksen, over the likes of Anthony, if we're serious about rebuilding the club, because they're the players that have shown that they've got the balls to put on the shirt, and not enough players are showing they've got the balls to put on the shirt. Garnacho today, when he came off, as much as you disagree with the substitution, and I thought it was a bad substitution, you don't do that. That's the second time in a week that he's actively gone against his manager in a public forum. So he should be fined, in my opinion, a couple of weeks' wages, because he's putting pressure on Ten Hag. We all, again, I think a lot of people disagree with the substitution. It's probably the wrong substitution. Garnacho seems to be driving our attacks all the time, but you can't keep doing that in public because you're undermining your manager anyway, and it causes pressure when stuff like this happens. But I genuinely don't know what to think about it anymore. The tactics are so... It's just chaotic. We said that the chaos would suit us, and it didn't. It suited Coventry in the end. They was better than us when it got chaotic. But Ten Hag's got to be looking, and again, he's got to be looking at this and going, can't keep putting this team out because they're causing me too many problems. Where can I make changes? Like, basically, until the FA Cup final now, Ahmad should play every game over Rashford. That should be that. Just run a game to the end of the season. Then, if you want to bring Rashford in for the final, so be it, if you think it's your strongest team. But just blood some players now. The league position's gone. We're literally just playing for the FA Cup. Give some of the different players, the edge of the team players, a chance to prove they could be useful in the final. We talk about Casemiro every single week at the minute. He's awful. He's been poor. Absolutely poor. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the penalties. I don't like penalties. I don't like it. It's not that I don't like watching them and they make me nervous. I just think it's a really shitty way of settling a football match, to be honest. I'd prefer for them to play again and do a replay and do it that way. Then I just think it's... You don't always get the deserved winner in a penalty shootout. So I didn't watch them, but I hear his penalty was a chip down the middle.
Can I just make a point? I do agree with what you say, Dan. With Nelson, Bruno's actually scored 4 goals in 4 games in a row. Yeah, but in the chaos, you forget these things. The other thing is that I do agree. I think it was not the right decision to take Garnacho off. But in fairness to Anthony, he's not had a great time at United, but in recent times, he's actually played okay. Like, he was brought on for that Liverpool game. He got the crucial equaliser. He started against Chelsea, and he put in that brilliant ball. That was a great performance. I know he gave a penalty away, but he had a very good performance. And the irony is, that Chelsea game, I know we lost it at the end, but if you look at the majority of that game, we actually played well that game. You know, if you look at it, and what was coincidental about that, he played Anthony, he dropped Rashford, ironically. You know, and this
the thing I've seen, John, is people are saying that it's the manager's fault for the substitutions, which I get it. I do get it because he's made the substitutions, and not everybody would agree with the substitutions. But he set us up for 70 minutes to be 3-0 up, absolutely cruising, and the tactics worked. So taking off 2 players shouldn't destroy your tactics to the point that they suddenly stopped working and you throw away a 3-0 lead. That's a bigger question than the manager. You've got to think, what are these players doing?
Eriksen, as you know, in hindsight, wrong take made off Eriksen. But you got to remember, Eriksen is a very experienced player. And he probably thought, I need to get a player on there. We know Eriksen's not going to run around, but you don't need a player to run. You need someone who can keep the ball. And Mainu is very good at. He's a calming influence. But maybe he might have been tired. And, you know, you bring Eriksen on, he should be able to do that job. The other factor is, did really Garnacho and Mainu coming off affect the result, them coming back? Possibly not, because it wasn't their fault. We conceded 3 goals. I don't know what time it was. I think Garnacho, was it 3-1 he came off, or 3-2? I can't remember.
3-1 both plays.
And what score was it when Eriksen?
So when Mainu came off, they just scored their first goal, Coventry.
Right.
I do agree that City, we should have brought on substitutes, because obviously he's got to think about the whole season. At 3-1 up, 3-0 up, you're not expecting to concede again or 2 goals against a championship team. But for me, bringing off Garnacho, Rashford, you can argue for either of them. Obviously, Garnacho shouldn't argue with Ten Hag about it. Like I said, you're kind of disrespecting the manager and kind of, showing the wrong side of what it is to be a player at Man United. You always respect the manager, regardless of whether or not we agree with the decision. I didn't agree with it. I thought Rashford should have come off before Garnacho, but that's another argument, and that's just, you know what I mean? But Mainey was holding that midfield that entire game.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, you could play, no offense to Sheffield United, but I think Coventry was a harder game than Sheffield United will be. If you want to play Eriksen so badly, just play the best team you've got to get this result, because the final's the only thing we've got to play for now. There's nothing else. We're top four's out of it. We'll probably get the Conference League whilst the way we're playing, if we're lucky. But for me, that was the daftest substitution of all. Mainoo was controlling the middle of the park, and he's got legs. The one thing between Mainoo and Eriksen is, I do get what you're saying, John, in terms of like Eriksen is. But Eriksen can't run anymore. We've seen it.
No, he can't.
He can't. And that's not his fault. You know what I mean? We're not knocking him for that.
But my point was the way you see out a game is to keep hold of the ball. It's not just to defend. And he probably thought, right, Mainoo, he is a young man. You do still have to manage your minutes, even if he's your best player in midfield. And this is where he probably thought, if ever there is a time to bring Eriksen, I do agree his legs is gone. I think he should go in the summer. But if there's ever a time you should be able to get away with playing Eriksen, it's the last. Yes, okay, you're one goal up, but you should be able to manage it with experience. And 100%. Eriksen is good at keeping hold of the ball, and the fact we still bottle it to some degree, I know it's the substitutions are not good, and Ten Hag has a lot to answer for. Don't get me wrong, but even with those changes, you should still see out the game.
My issue, John, though, is with those changes.
Yeah.
When you bring Eriksen on and when you bring Anthony on, you have to change your tactics because they're different players.
Yeah.
They're different. But we didn't. We kept with the chaos, and we kept. When they scored, I literally was sat watching it and I went, why are so many players gone forward? It's 3-0. What are you doing? And then before you know it, it's 3-1. And it's stuff like that. That is, the manager should be getting onto the players. What are you doing? Just keep the ball. You go to the side. You make Coventry cover 10 yards sideways. You go back. You make them cover another 10 yards. And then they're tired. They get bored of chasing the ball. City do it every game when they go. In fact, not even when they're 2-0 up. They do it at 0-0 because they bore the shit out of it. And that's what you have to do. You have to bore the opponent.
I'll tell you what, there's another moment where I think, which is what people seem to have forgotten actually. At 3-2, that chance Højlund had. I'm not overly impressed with Højlund at the minute.
Yeah,
I know. On my own this is what I'm talking about. Like, you make these changes at 3-2, and the ball falls through in the ball. He tries to get it on his left foot. He scored goals with his right foot, and maybe it shows his lack of form and that kind of thing. And obviously, he took his penalty well. But again, it's on the page. Højlund has to bury that chance. If he buries that chance, it's 4-2, job done. Then they're not going to come back from that. And this is where the manager again has made some silly decision, but the players just don't know how to get him managed.
Well, you talk about these decisions, John, and let's just throw out what some of these other people are saying, because you've got PJ saying it was so obvious it would fall apart when Mainoo and Garnacho were subbed, which, and again, I don't agree with everything that I'm putting up here, but again, this is
I don't. The thing is, though, let's be honest.
I'll finish saying what the comment people said. Get back in your box. You've all had a chat.
I just wanted to argue about that point.
The people are speaking.
Anthony came on in the last round against.
Honestly, I starred these. I didn't put them up on the screen. I thought I'll star these because these are what worth putting out. And you got people jumping in over him. Honestly, JJ, smack him next time you see him. The minute Garnacho was subbed off for Anthony of all people, you knew there was going to be a shift in momentum, which again I thought was a very interesting point to make because let's not forget Anthony did score against Liverpool. So very interesting that we've got some people who are not too pleased about that. But JJ's also said, for me, the Garnacho sub was right, but at the wrong time. Then they all just fell apart and became complacent. Now, I think what worries me about this is that we are, for some reason, just sitting here and putting all of our eggs into the basket of Garnacho and eventually Mainu are the two people that are holding our club together, and we can't possibly make any substitutions. Whilst on the other side of it, we've got people like Dan saying, you need to freshen things up, got to change the team, can't keep putting the same team out again and again and again. So we are in a situation where poor old Ten Hag, in this respect, is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he makes the substitutions, he gets told off. If he doesn't make the substitutions, he gets shouted at. How can you not? You're 3-0 up again. Imagine that, right? Imagine we win 3-0 at full time. He hasn't made any substitutions. How do you not bring on someone? Why are you making him play 90 minutes? Like, he's got no hope. So, we're all Mystic Meg, aren't we, when that happens? I'm going to go to John, then Tony, you can throw in with what you're going to say. But obviously, he makes the Garnacho sub just before Ellis Sims scores his goal. Now, on the preview, we spoke about Ellis Sims. He was diabolical in front of goal against Wolves. Like, he couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo until the end when he finally did get one. And here, he turns it in. 15 goals in his last 14 games. The guy is on fire. At that point, were you a little bit worried? Did you think they're going to come back? Or surely you're thinking like the rest of us are, oh, isn't it nice? Coventry have had something to cheer while they're at Wembley. That's quite good. Because that's what I thought. I'm like, I'm really pleased for them. They've had a little cheer. They've not just turned up and got spanked.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Well, I actually predicted 3-1. So I thought, yeah, they've got to cheer, and you got to be careful. You got to try and manage the next 10, 15 minutes. You can't afford to score a second. But because I didn't think it was a good performance, even when they score that goal. And then, so I thought we might still have enough to see the game out. I thought for once, maybe our professionalism might allow us to, to see out the game. So, yeah, it was, for Coventry's perspective, it was nice for them to enjoy that moment. But I wasn't particularly worried when they made it 3-1. I did start to worry when they made it 3-2, though. That's when I was like, this could go really wrong here. Like I say, I predicted 3-1, so I wasn't too worried at that moment because it was a well-taken goal, and then you had the changes and everything, and then I think the momentum really swung when they got their second one. So when they made it 3-1, I wasn't too worried, but we know our team's capable of anything.
No, absolutely. And then Tone, obviously, feel free to throw in what you're going to throw in about Garnacho there, but also it then went to 3-2. We bring off Mainu, for Ericsson, and within 10 minutes we've made 2 substitutions, and it's now 3-2, and a bit of a deflection off of Wan-Bissaka, to be fair. But 3-2, and as John says, at that point, as Sir Alex famously said, squeaky bum time commenced.
No, 100%. I think let's be honest here. It wasn't a 3-3 game in terms of in 90 minutes where Cov had so many chances to score 3 goals. If we're being honest here, the first goal, Ellis Sims, nice moment for the Cov fans. It was an all right, well taken goal. The second goal by O'Hare is a 1 in 100. The most OP deflection you've ever seen in your life. It somehow goes top pins out of nowhere. You can't write that sort of stuff. And City in a game like that, you ride your luck, you buy your luck, and they got it. And after that, they must have been in dreamland, thinking they've got 10 minutes here to change the whole game. And unfortunately, United, we just kept doing the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And they kept doing the same thing. And City knew we were there for the taking at that point. I think they knew, give them 10, 15 more minutes, they'll get something from this. After we went 3-2. No, Onana, this is what JJS has just said. Onana weren't stopping that. He's sat in a position where he's ready to dive one way, and his foot is planted. You can see it. His foot's planted on his left side. And as the ball's deflected, unless he's got the reflexes of some absolute alien, he's not going to save that.
Do you think, though, because it's not a big issue with this, but I've seen it a few times where with Onana where he plants his foot and he's not able to move.
Yeah.
And adjust. Is that a bit of an issue? Like, because for me, when you're saying the outfield, but you have to be on your feet. I don't know if, I don't think it's like a major error, but it's something I've noticed a few times where it's like he plants his foot and he's somebody watched it go over, and it's not always in the corner, because I think if he had been a bit more on his feet, I guess he might have saved it. So while it's not a major error, is it a slight issue?
Yeah, he's cheating. He's cheating a little bit. So what he's doing, he's always setting himself early, where the top level keepers, you will always notice, look at their feet. Alisson never sets his feet until the very last moment, until the shot's already been taken. Whereas Onana set his feet too early. And although it's not a howler, because he's set himself too early, he's let him have the chance. If he's on his toes in that position, from after O'Hare takes that shot, he probably saves it. If we're being super cynical here, so it's not a comical error. It's just something where he just plants his feet too early with a couple of things. He's done it about 5 or 6 times I can count this season. But you know what I mean. Like, if it's not a bad mistake, it's just one of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then of course, Dan. And you thought it couldn't get any worse. It bloody well did. And 3-0 miraculously becomes 3-3. And I mean, I was watching it, and genuinely, I was watching it on my laptop on this coach with intermittent blinking 4G, so it just kept on pausing every once in a while, and it went in. And I just remember shouting, I absolutely hate football, or words to that effect. Because you're just thinking, how's it happened? Like, they did so well in their quarter-final game against Wolves to do this exact same thing. They just never know when they're beaten. And before you know it, like we say, 3-3. Were you at that point wondering if actually we might end up getting tonked in extra time? Because of the fact that they had their tails up, and obviously we're sitting there having made substitutions and not looking too good.
I genuinely had the thought that we would lose it in normal time. I thought they would get the ball back and score again, because the mentality was gone. Everybody couldn't believe it. The players were sort of, you could see they wanted the whistle to go, because it was mental, really. I've got to be honest. When the penalty was given, I was done with football for a bit, for maybe 5 minutes while I cooled down. How that has been given as a penalty is absolutely horrifying. Like I say, we've seen literally over the last 2 days that the ball can travel 20 yards to a player doing this and then literally blocking it with his arm, and it's not a penalty. And by the way, it's not even a goal kick. It's not even a corner kick. They give a goal kick somehow. VAR look at it, wave it on straight away. You see Ashley Young today, the ball's cut inside. His arm is out there and it hits it. They don't give a penalty. And then we've seen loads more. Romero against Man United at the start of the season. It's up here. Hits him in the hand. It's not a penalty. There's more. There's so many more examples of the handball rule not making any sense.
What about that one? Was it extra time where Hoyland edited it? And he's
I'm going to make you host it for a minute where you're going on. I've got all these things written down. And he's like, no, let's do them now, Barry.
Sorry.
Well, I'm sure we'll come on to that one, John. But there's been so many examples of what is handball and what isn't handball. Now, if we're in the Champions League and that happens, I've resigned myself to the fact it's handball, because in the Champions League, they're very consistent. If your arm's even slightly away from your body, it's handball. But when you see over the last 2 days, handball's not being given for much worse than that, I was furious, because the annoying thing for me is I think if the referee doesn't give that penalty, VAR doesn't give the penalty.
Exactly.
And I'm really fed up of seeing that on a football pitch where, because the refs give it, VAR can't intervene because it's not clear and obvious. Well, it is clear and obvious. He was 4 yards away from the ball when it was smashed at him, and his arm is literally near his side, pointing downwards. It's not out. It's not up. It's not like this. It's down. He's not protected. And then to be honest, I knew they would score from that point, and I knew they'd give it.
Sorry, do you think he gave that because of the roar behind the stand?
Yes.
Right, because Coventry
Yeah,
had
the emotion.
It's
Pure
like because he
panic
didn't
mode.
give it straight away.
No,
He gave it, and it's
He
there's
did
no
think
way.
And
Yeah.
I would like to believe, genuinely would like to believe, that what's happened there is he's looked at it, because when it starts, Wan-Bissaka's arm's out here. And then when it goes down, you see he's putting his arm behind his back. So he's in the act of trying to move his arm out of the way. He's not pulled it out. He's not jumping. He's literally trying to put it behind his back whilst also sticking his leg out and being a bit like Spider-Man. He does like to do that, doesn't he? And I think John was right. I mean, we will jump to that as well. When you then go to extra time and you look at how it comes off of the guy's arm when he's like this, yes, off the top of it,
Like
but his arm's up and VAR don't even, just like, no, don't worry about it. And, you know, I don't want to spend ages sitting there having a go at the referees, but I watched that replay again and I just thought, how can Wan-Bissaka's be yes and that one no? And we argue about it all the time. Consistency.
Well,
it's just none,
how is being down by your side unnatural, but jumping like this with your arm in the air natural? It makes absolutely no sense. But this is my point. These same referees in the Premier League all season have not give penalties for handball like that. They've literally waved them off, and we've seen it over the last couple of days. So why suddenly, in one of the biggest games of the season for Coventry and for Man United, because it's been such a poor season, is that a penalty? And John's spot on. The referee doesn't give it, and he definitely didn't see it because there's numerous bodies in his way. And he waits and he waits and he waits and he goes, I'm giving it. And I bet if they release the comms, it's going to be I'm giving it. Couldn't see it, I'm going to give it. VAR will check. Instead of VAR check, I'm not giving it, but VAR check it. Was it deliberate? Was he unnatural? Because that doesn't get given. If the referee didn't give it, it doesn't get given.
I mean, I've said it time and again. They just need to stop. There doesn't need to be a VAR person as such. There just needs to be somebody who's in charge of the camera so that he's able to just go and have a look.
Yeah. It's not football, is it?
Person's opinion. Just let him make the decision. Just go, do you want to go and look at that again? We've got it ready for you. And then let him decide. And if he looks at that on a replay and goes, I was right, absolutely, then go for it. But if he looks at it and goes, do you know what, having seen that again, that's a bit harsh, that, isn't it? Then don't give it. But just let it be the ref's decision. Why do we have to keep on faffing about, letting 4 or 5 other people have their opinion in there as well? Because you can see here, we've got a hodgepodge of people. We've all got our own opinions of things. You never come out of it with one answer. It's only what the host thinks is in charge.
But Neil, what we're trying to argue here is we're not saying it's not a penalty, but we're saying is where's the consistency in decisions? That's the argument here. It's not the fact of if that's a pen, then the one in extra time should be a penalty, and the one again in the Everton game should have been a penalty. And things like this. All we ask for
yesterday as well.
All we ask for in football as fans is consistency, and VAR is ruining football. It's ruined football. Ultimately, the referee should have autonomy of the game, not some person 60 miles away who can watch it at 3,000 angles, because that's not football. That is a virtual reality bullshit that people just like. Don't get wrong. I'm glad we're through to a final, but VAR has ruined Coventry City's big moment today because of, let's be honest, those lines as well at the end were a bit skeptical as well. You see what I mean? Rugby's perfect, but rugby's in a kind of a movement sort of way. Football's free flowing, whereas rugby's very much a stop-starty sort of game, isn't it? For a lot of parts, the phases and things like that. But that's all we're asking for is consistency. There needs to be a massive rewrite of the rules in terms of handball.
I agree.
That's all.
Well, I personally think in Europe that I know they get dodgy calls, but usually they get them right. I think Wan-Bissaka is probably a penalty in Europe.
Well, in Europe, there's the consistency that we talked about.
So is Grealish. I think I'm not saying this one should be given, this one shouldn't. You know, like Grealish, both should be given, or neither should be given, in my opinion. But whether Wan-Bissaka, it might be the right decision. You know, who knows? But for me, the fact that you've had this one, which could have cost United going out the FA Cup, and the fact Grealish got away with it yesterday, which might have meant Chelsea went through, it just seems a bit, you know.
It needs to be clear cut.
It definitely is on. And in that respect, it then becomes subjective. And that's the decision that was made. So I'm going to throw it all to all of you now. extra time, and I'm just going to point out some of the things that happened. Bruno Fernandes hit the bar. That could have been 4-3. Amad Diallo. Now I've got to say this was put out by NT. NT said Amad was better than Rashford, Garnacho, and Anthony combined when he came on. And whilst for the most part I would agree with you, I would also sit there and say if Amad had passed for Bruno Fernandes, we were probably looking at 4-3 because the man was absolutely free on goal. He was onside, and if he releases the pass, nice little through ball. Fernandes is 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper, and you'd fancy him to have scored that. Amari Forsum, just before half-time, has an opportunity, and it is saved. Then you have the Thomas handball as well. Equally, though, on Coventry's point of view, Hadji Wright stick the ball just wide of the post, and they also hit the bar, which bounced down and away. And then, of course, just before the final whistle, just for the lulz, they scored and gave every single one of us a heartbreak. At this point, my laptop was not just closed, it was thrown across the coach effectively. We're lucky it's still here. And I went off in a bit of a strop until, God bless them, the girls said, it's all right, it's offside. And then I came back and watched it like an adult. So, but I was very angry. That's a lot to happen in extra time, isn't it, John?
Yeah, it is. It is. Apart from we didn't get any goals, did we? And we got 3 in the last round against Liverpool, didn't we, in extra time? So, but no, it was, apart from Bruno hitting the bar, I don't think we were great. I think we were lucky. And obviously we had handballs, shall we? It's I don't know, but yeah, but like you, I was watching it on TV, but it kept going funny, and I ended up listening to the great sports channel that is Talk Sport, because that's the only way I could get a connection, and then it went 4-3 up, but then I went, on the live scores app, and they said VAR check for goal. So I thought, right, I'll go back on, see what they say. Then the cheer came, goal disallowed. It was just offside. And the most laughable thing about it was Adrian Durham saying that's not fair. For those who say offside is offside, well, that's not true. He's an inch offside. He's got big feet. Therefore, he's not gaining an advantage. That should not be offside. I'm sorry, but I don't know, has anyone got the offside rule book? It doesn't say anything about how big your feet are, does it? So, I just think this drivel we have to put through. Would he have been saying the same thing if we did it at the other end? No. He's like, oh, he's got big feet and he's not getting an advantage. He can't help where his feet are. Well, yeah, he can. So, I don't know. It's just, we got lucky. That's all you can say about it.
I mean, let's be honest, Tone. It was a moment, wasn't it? I mean, when that went in, the crowd was going mental. The commentary team was giving it the big end, this is the greatest comeback you'll ever see in the history of the world. And it was a headline. So you can understand why every media outlet in the world was disappointed that Coventry didn't pull off the greatest of great escapes and make it to a final against Man City. But equally, John's right, because offside is offside. Now, I'll say it here absolutely clearly. In my world, that would never be offside, because it's pathetic that it is just a final little tiny piece of your body that is offside. The fact that you've got to draw a line in that respect, and you can't, if the linesman can't see it, it's a bit mental that we're sitting here doing that. And now we've got semi-automated offsides coming up. I can't wait to see how that goes.
That's going to be even worse, because then it's not even...
Is goal line technology, or is it going to be like VAR? If it's goal line technology, brilliant.
Well, was it Wan-Bissaka was playing him on?
Yeah, it was. Wan-Bissaka plays everyone on. How many times done this
season?
Check out
what the size of his feet are then.
Well, listen,
He might have big feet.
Wan-Bissaka is the failed left back experiment for me. Today is the day that's told me we can't be playing Wan-Bissaka at left back anymore. It's not working with him there. Not that we've got any other choice to put anybody else in, but I mean, sod it.
play
Right
Mass.
at the moment, just tip bloody Anthony there, like Dan keeps asking for, and we'll just go over it that way. But Tone, as I was saying, I mean, it was offside at the end of the day, and JJ saying it was contentious. I'm not convinced it was. The lines, according to the rules of this season, offside, and it is what it is.
I tell you what, it's if you're looking for any hope whatsoever, you think back to Garnacho at Arsenal, and that probably
that in my eyes that weren't offside either.
Yeah, and yet we've got the benefit of a decision on a very, very similar call. So maybe we're owed one.
I think when it comes to semi-automatic offsides, from my understanding, from what I've read, Barry, in terms of how it works in the Champions League, it's literally like goal line technology. It's not contentious. It's not based on opinions. It's factual. You're off or you're on. And I guess in that side, it kind of stops the debate of us talking, because I feel like the more and more we talk about football, the more and more we're talking about decisions as opposed to how teams have bloody played. And it's getting to a point now where, we're getting to bizarro where the referees and the officials are becoming the stars of football and not the footballers themselves. But in terms of, big moments, I generally think it's a bit harsh, but we're talking about a factual thing here. Factually is offside. So we have to accept that. And that's football, unfortunately. But, we're defeating those moments where, like in football, where fans are celebrating jubilations taken away within the moment of seconds. But I think Wenger's doing something now, isn't he, with FIFA, where he's kind of saying a certain amount of your body has to be offside for it to be called offside, because you can't be offside if your head's in front of you see what I mean? Your body a certain amount of your body has to be offside, which is going to bring more contention. So I'm not getting involved. I just wish football was like it was back in 2005.
Well, tell me. But I think Wenger's biggest thing that he says there that makes sense is that actually, rather than saying there needs to be a bit of your body in front of the defender's body, when you're sitting here and talking about you want to give the attacker the benefit of the doubt, we're not. To give the attacker the benefit of the doubt, you've got to allow them to have a foot in front. So for me, I would actually say there needs to be a gap between the two players. If you are stood in front of the defender and there is daylight between you and them, you're offside. If not, then that's the benefit of the doubt for the attacker, because it moves too quickly. So anyway, that's my 2 pence worth. Dan, these guys have covered the offside brilliantly. If you feel like you really want to talk about it, feel free. But have you got anything to mention about the fact we hit the bar, that Ahmad couldn't pass, that Forson didn't score, and that Coventry missed a couple of opportunities before that as well?
The chaos suited Coventry at the end of the day. When it went chaotic and they moved to the back four just at the start of the second half, seemed to have a lot more control. We've said that all season in terms of the midfield. We've got no control in midfield when we're playing man for man, if that makes sense. Like, the footballers aren't good enough to play man for man. Ahmad, that pass, I think he would play that pass if he was not as rusty. So if he was on like a run of 5 games, I think he makes that pass because he's maybe a little less nervous, a little bit thingy, but he definitely should have played the pass. I thought we was lucky. I don't begrudge Coventry at all. If that wouldn't have been offside and they would have made it 4-3, I wouldn't have sat there thinking I'm not happy with a penalty, but I wouldn't have sat there thinking we'd been robbed or we deserved to go through. I wouldn't have begrudged Coventry all the win. No. Ultimately, I'm very confused by this, to be honest, because I've been saying all season, so I feel like I'm okay to say it, but the offside, the tech for offside isn't fit for purpose, and it hasn't been all season. But it's only a problem now that it's happened to Man United, that it's benefited us in some way. But when it was Garnacho and the ball wasn't even on the passer's foot when they had the image still. So what they do is they figure out when the ball's been kicked, keep that image, and then look at the next bit. And you can see on this picture, the ball's clearly at the thingy. I'll be honest, no, they won't. This is what I find annoying. They're saying that Coventry were robbed, but they've given a penalty that wasn't a penalty. It's not a penalty. It shouldn't have been given as a penalty.
We robbed a penalty.
And we wasn't robbed. It's a good decision, even though it's not been. I can give you a reel of examples of it not being given as penalties, but then it's suddenly a penalty because it's Manchester United. I genuinely, watching that game, went, that's offside. and I was literally shouting at the TV, why is it taking so long? It's clearly offside. Because you could see Wan-Bissaka wasn't running, he was jogging, and the Coventry player was running. And there's a picture of the non-thick lines, and it's further offside than you think it is. The thick lines make it look closer. But he's a good foot. It's not a toe. He's a good foot in front of his man. It's offside. But then now suddenly, it's a problem that give us a real... This Neil, no offence, Neil, at me, but the Dallo comment got me for a start. Dallo has been better at left back than Wan-Bissaka has ever been. Like, played for AC Milan at left back. Just give you an example. Jack Grealish, Ashley Young, Romero, Odegaard, Liverpool versus Arsenal, where he basically catches the ball from going through. That's 4. I can keep going. There's literally loads of examples of this handball not being given this season, and many in the last 2 days that it's not being given. So how it's been given today is lack of consistency, which is the problem. So and then it's ultimately it's offside. So whichever way you look at it, I get that people can feel bad for Coventry because it's a massive underdog story, this, that, and the other. But it was offside. It has to be given because it's offside. So now we're going to change the rules because it's Manchester United that have benefited from it. So suddenly, we should give those goals. Oh, fucking, it's brilliant. Fantastic. We'll change the rules just for Man United because everybody hates us so much. But again, I wouldn't have begrudged Coventry winning because they deserved to win in extra time. They was better than we were. They did. They hit that one that hit the crossbar and went across the face. I thought it was in. I had panic.
It was a good save by Onana.
Yeah, he tipped it.
Yeah, he tipped it. He got fingers onto it. Like, obviously, I don't know if that stopped it from going in, but I'll give him the benefit because I always try and give the goalkeepers the benefit. He's just giving you a reel of examples, Neil. He's giving you like 10 different games and 10 different scenarios. I don't. He's not an encyclopedia bus.
Six different examples in this season where they've not been given us penalties.
Unfortunately, Dan, 7 is a reel, 6 is just a list.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll have to go.
Over here, just got to point out here, Dave has just said Coventry played the better football. I would say I think Man United have had the best of the first 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And Coventry had the best of the next 60. But as we've just mentioned with extra time, I mean, there was at least 3 opportunities each for that one where they could have managed to win. And I can confirm, Neil, that John does indeed have a fan club. And one person signed up to it. And
that's me.
As a prize, we have to spend the rest of my life with him. So what an absolute win that is. And what a prize has been won.
But Coventry played the better football. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Exactly.
We played the better football in and lost. It's just football and football.
We deserve to be 3-0 up. They didn't play the better football.
We deserve to be 3-0.
It was a game. I mean, we'd say game of 2 halves. It was a game of 2 hours, wasn't it? First half, we were brilliant. Second half, they were brilliant. So it was. I think it was probably a fair result in the end.
I think a hats off to Mark Robbins as well for making the change that he made at 2-0 because it did make a difference. They started to get on the ball more and play football. And
he actually said in his interview that he gave us too much respect in the first half and then he changed it about at half time and noticeable difference, to be fair. But there we go. Let's take it to the penalties then, because that's the last bit really that we need to run through. I think we can all agree that Casemiro, I'm looking for the nice words for this. If he was a horse, he'd be put out to pasture. I think that's what we're going to say with that. Other than that, really good penalties from the rest of the boys, which was good to see. And of course, Onana with another penalty save, which I think now with that one and the one that he did last season puts him one ahead of David De Gea. So that's good news. And then we can all just thank the Lord that the Sky Blues skied it just before Razzmatazz comes in and gets the win. We'll finish this part of the sort of the conversation really just by asking the three of you and go round one after the other. It's a penalty shootout win. We can be pleased, can't we? Because we do indeed have, as Jennifer says here, both of our teams, both the men and the women, in the FA Cup final again, which is really good. But it does have to be said that even though we've managed to win that, it was lucky.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, incredibly.
Yeah,
lucky.
it was. And I mean, in fairness to the team, after Casemiro was awful, but I mean, that's competition for you. What was worse is Bernardo Silva's in the week. You know, it's competition, but yeah, it was. But in fairness to the other four takers, they were very good penalties, and we did manage to find a way. We could have easily lost that game. In fact, we didn't after all that. We played half an hour and then penalty. We did find ways, so I guess maybe that shows a little bit of character, but obviously it was not good. Ironically, yeah, it's only the second time in FA Cup history you've had two teams contest the final in consecutive years. Bet none of you know when the other one was.
Yeah. Casemiro's just had the biggest depletion I've ever seen in the season I've ever seen from a United player. I can't believe how bad he is. Like, I genuinely feel like it. Like, someone on Sky Sports made the comment the other day, it feels like he's playing in Soccer Aid. It genuinely does. Like, I can't believe he looks like he's gained 3 stone. He looks like he hasn't run in about 3 years. He can't pass anymore. He's made one really good pass in the first half to Rashford, but besides that, I don't get it. Does he want to leave? What is he just not up for it anymore?
In fairness to it, I thought for the first hour again, as a sense of he actually did a good job. In fact, I don't think he had that bad a game. Ironically, I know we conceded 3, but that penalty.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I give up.
Do you know what my biggest worry is? It's simply looking from where we are now. Coventry would probably give City a better game if they got to the final.
Yeah,
that's my genuine worry. I'm not going into this final thinking brilliant. We're going to have to basically going in needing to do a giant killing.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know where we go from here in terms of the team, the manager. It's raised loads of questions today, and it's even confused me because, like Barry said earlier, I've been one for you get a few goals up, you make your changes, you trust your players, you use your squad. After today, I can see exactly why you don't make changes and why he doesn't bring on players, because stuff like this happens when he does. So I don't know where we go
was
from.
a game to make changes. It was
today, yeah, and it absolutely went to pot as soon as he did. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm glad we're in another final, and it's going to be good if we can put one over on City and get some revenge for last year. Obviously, that'll be great. I'm just hoping between now and then we could maybe get some injuries back, playing fit, and put out a stronger team.
Oh, there's the answer.
There you go, Tone. That's it. We're going to win.
Luke Shaw is the best left back in the world. I say it every time on it. The greatest player the world's ever seen. People don't realise it.
Do you know what, as well? I've got to say that Rashford is quite clearly struggling with the players behind him, because there were times today he was making runs and he was looking for the overlap, and it's just not natural to Wan-Bissaka. It would be to Shaw. So it's the same as when Maguire was playing next to Shaw. They always had like a 10-10 partnership with Rashford in front, and it worked. That little triangle worked. So he is a big missing piece. I mean, any fit, normal left back would be a start. But if that can be Shaw for the final, brilliant. I'll have my say on Casemiro. He got us the top 4 last season, I think. He was fantastic. He was. You could see why we bought into the team. This season, I don't know. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. I don't understand what's gone off. I think he's not going to stay. I don't see him and Varane staying past this season. I think they're two of the ones that would definitely go, along with Martial. It's just a strange one. Interesting I want to get people's take on this, because Onana isn't the answer. We don't win that game without Onana today.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what the question is.
What's he mean? The answer, like, he passes. Like, did you see some of the passes he was making in the first half? He was cutting through the.
Made a really good couple of saves as well that kept us in the game.
Mate, Top was really like Top was straight at him, but the power could have took it past him. The save went in extra time where he tips onto the crossbar. We don't know what happens if he doesn't tip that onto the crossbar. It could have bounced in. You know what I mean? Like, and he saved a penalty as well. I think people are unnecessarily going after Onana for the win.
He need. I mean, that was a very good save that he made at 3-2. But I think you got to factor in it. How many back fours has he had this season?
35.
I mean, 30, and that says enough. How many games have we played? About 45, maybe something.
I read somewhere 61, but I don't know how accurate
61 this season.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's.
It won't be
calendar year or what.
Including pre-season.
It was around the 6-1 last season, but it must be that.
Well, I saw something where Coventry have played the same games as us after today. No, sorry, the same games as City or something like that after today, and they were on like 661, and we was closer than I thought because I didn't understand why. But we did go quite far in a couple of competitions, so it probably has added up a little bit. But yeah, I'm a little bit baffled by today's performance. After 70 minutes, well, let's say 68 minutes, I thought professional was the word. After that, I don't know what the word is for it. Comical, probably.
Yeah, tragic would be the other one. So let's just run through because there's some that I've starred that didn't really fit in with the conversations. Obviously, Andy did say in the preview that Casemiro would be centre back, and of course he was right. Matt, who was also on that show, did pop in, and he said Ten Hag saying in his press conference after the game, "It's not an embarrassment; it's an achievement that we went through." He's speechless. I mean, I can see what Ten Hag's trying to do there. He's trying to make it a bit of a positive spin, a bit like we've tried to. Really, you want to try and put a positive spin on the fact you're in the final, but equally, how do you do that? Other points that were made, JJ saying, does Rashford need dropping by Southgate in order to understand the ramifications around 4 years on the pitch?
I started that because Rashford doesn't really play for England as a starter. He sort of goes, but doesn't really get that much game time.
Does JJ mean dropping from the
squad?
I
wonder. That's what I was going to say. Does he mean dropping completely out of the squad to get the point?
It'll be in the 26. It'll be in the 26 squad.
I think it's 23 now.
Palmer?
No, he'll pick Palmer. He'll pick Palmer and Rashford. He won't take Bowen. He'll take Rashford purely in the fact of hope and pray that he turns up. But you know what I mean? Like, let's hoping and praying.
I mean, it's probably his last tournament, so we'll probably try and stick to most of the players that have been there with him more than take a chance.
He won't play. He won't play. Yeah. He won't play in that tournament.
Well, I can remember the last tournament he got on for about 6 minutes total. He went, but he didn't play.
The one thing in Rashford's favour is like Gordon has had a good season. Grealish has been a bit in and out. He hasn't been in totally great form either. Same with Rashford, so it might be by default he goes. So, but it's not based on form, put it that way.
Definitely one of those interesting ones. And JJ also pointed out a little bit later on that Rashford getting booed by our fans was worrying. I don't know. I didn't hear any of that because I was listening to it. Well, I wasn't listening. I was watching. That's the whole point. But there is a major disconnect between him and the fans, and it is starting to feel that way. And then Michael just pointed out as well, can we stop with the we're Man United and everyone hates us? No, they do. The problem with VAR is it's subjective. Yes, it is. And we can't yet remove the human element. I did try and respond. But what I would say is that, yes, VAR is subjective. Offside is not. You either are or you're not. And he was. So in this case, VAR had nothing to do with a subjective point of view. It was just was what it was. Were you trying to say something there, Tone?
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not saying that we're Man United and everyone hates us. We're saying the media acts like that. If we get a decision against us, no one talks about it in the media. If Man United get a decision go our way, you see ITV earlier, the commentators go, wow, it's horrible. Oh, what a shame, what a pity. But it's factual. He was offside. You know what I mean? Like that's you know what I mean? But what I'm saying, if that was Man United and that happened, they'd go, oh, great result for us. You know what I mean? What a game. You know what I mean? All this, that, and the other.
Yeah, John got it spot on. They did it with Garnacho earlier in the season where it's really, really tight. The tech just can't keep up to the speed of the pass. And everyone just went, it's factual. Great decision. Well, you can't complain when when it's against Man United, everyone's like, yeah, fine, no worries. When it's in our favour, suddenly we've had some help from the VAR room.
You can't.
We definitely didn't get help from the VAR room.
You can't possibly give a decision in United's favour.
No.
Yeah.
Some of the penalties we give away lately as well.
Yeah. If United get a subjective decision, it's the wrong decision. But it is what it is.
Indeed.
That offside goal against City, wasn't it, last year?
But it wasn't offside, and that was great.
No.
I love this. I preferred it before you did your autocorrect, actually. Anana played the pants villain well, but he meant Panto. Well,
can I just touch upon that? I've never known that before.
Touch upon the pants villain?
No. I mean, him and Martinez get booked during the game, get booked in a shootout, they don't get sent off. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, you never hear of it, and then it's happened twice in a week.
Yeah, and they changed. I read up about that. They changed the rules in 2021. But
and
what was good to see,
Martinez misses his, and Anana doesn't.
Yeah, what was good to see about that is Anana apparently asked the referee if that was the rules before the penalty shootout. So he knew that he could get booked again. He knew exactly what he's doing. But that's what more keepers need to do.
The irony is, I think Martinez is suspended for Villa's next European game.
First leg is suspended.
So what's that based off? Is that the fact he got 2 yellows? Or?
No, it's because he got booked 3 times in the 2 games.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so he got booked 3 times over both legs, so that's why he's suspended.
I see. Right.
So Anana won't be suspended for the final.
You can get booked 3 times in 2 games and not get a red.
Madness.
Yeah, I was regularly booking through, people 3 times before the second half.
That's one of the strangest rules I've ever heard.
And the last comment that came through, and it has made me giggle a little bit, so apologies, Dave. But he asked, what's your honest opinion of 10 in or 10 out? I think the answer is both. We need 10 in and 10 out. And hopefully we'll have a decent squad capable of challenging for the title. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We could probably carry on talking for another hour and 17 minutes. But someone's at work in the morning. And I'm sure John would like to go and enjoy his evening. It's been a pleasure, as I say. John, thank you very much for joining us all the way over from Florida. Thank you again, Tone, for joining us. Always a pleasure, never a chore. And of course, Dan, excellent to have you as well. What is happening this week? Well, we've got Sheffield United midweek, haven't we? So if we're lucky, we'll be back again on Tuesday.
If we can't beat Sheffield United and Burnley, then God help us.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
I don't know. You go on record as saying that.
Why would you say that? Oh, John. Right, so Tuesdays
I'm saying it because
undo the voodoo. Tuesdays when we're going to undo the voodoo. And if it doesn't, then on the Thursday is going to be when we all sit here and absolutely take John Commode to task for costing
No, I'm saying it because we are bad. And I was like, if we can't beat either of them, then we are really, really shocking. That's
I'm with JJ. And basically, you just doubled down on it now, as if you weren't happy with doing it once. You just stuck it right.
I was touching wood, so we're all right. We're all right.
I love that he said this as we were 3-0 up against a championship side with 20 minutes to go, and we didn't draw 3-3. Brilliant.
Sheffield United won the last Premier League encounter against us at Old Trafford. So
fucking hell, they did.
Mute him.
We're gonna lose.
You really don't want us to win, John. Come on.
We're gonna lose. I know we are. We're gonna lose one of them, or maybe both.
Yeah, they're both at home. We can't be losing no 2 games at home.
Oh yeah, no, you're doing it.
Well, someone did tell me off in the group chat yesterday because I went, we can play Casemiro at centre back tomorrow. It's Coventry City, and someone called me out on it. And to be fair, more power to him because I was being a little cocky git.
Well, I take it back. John and Tone are never coming back on the show again.
It's sunny weather here. I don't need to come back.
So Thursday we'll be back to review everything that's happened there as we possibly confirm Sheffield United's relegation. And then, of course, we've got Burnley at the weekend. So we're going to have a big say in the relegation battle. So that'll be very interesting to see how this week goes. To be fair, you would have looked at it as 6 points beforehand, and now you're looking at it as if to go, who knows what could happen. So it'll be quite entertaining. But anyway, it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Well done in the comments. It has been a very well-watched show today. If you haven't already, please make sure you are liking and subscribing, telling your mates, and all that sort of jazz. It's where we come for good, honest chat. Post-show information, anything can happen. Absolutely anything. And by anything, what I mean is that Dan's going to have to push the button because I already know that it's not going to work on mine. So I'm going to be tag teaming here. God knows what's going to happen when Dan is not on a show and I am. That's going to be very interesting. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you all. Have a lovely week. We will see you, hopefully, Tuesday night. Night all.